Hello everyone, my name is Yibo Wang from Hong Kong Baptist University. Thank you for joining my session today. The paper I will be presenting is titled Market Share Competition Among New Energy Vehicle Manufacturers in China, Competitive Landscape and a Trend Forecast. I will walk you through how the competition among Chinese NEV makers has evolved and what really drives market share and where the structure is heading. Let me start with some numbers that set the stage. In 2024, China's NEV sales reached 12.866 million units, up 34.5% year-on-year, and NEVs now account for 40.9% of all new vehicle sales in China. So the question is no longer whether the electric vehicles will take off. They already have. So the real question is what happens next? The market has shifted from the scale growth to the competitive restructuring. We're not no longer watching an expansion story. We're watching a stratification story. And that is where my research started. I asked the three questions. The first one, what is the current market share patterns of the NEV manufacturers in China? The second one, which the mechanism actually drive the changes in the market share? The third one, how is the structure of this market likely to evolve in the near future? These three questions guide the rest of the presentation. The existing studies tell us a lot about the internationalization, corporate governance, and a single firm strategy, but much less about how domestic competition actually unfolds. I identified the three gaps. The gap one, the market is usually treated as an outcome, not as a product of several mechanisms interacting. The gap two, concentration indices like the CR5 and HHI are rarely combined with the qualitative structural analysis. And gap three, focus often just extrapolate trends, overstating uncertainty in what is, in reality, a very volatile market. To address these gaps, I use three-part design. The first one, a qualitative analysis of the industrial evolution and competitive drivers. The second one, a quantitative measurement of the market concentration using CR5 and HHI from 2021 to 2024. And third, a scenario-based structural forecast across the four plausible futures. The first phase was policy-driven. The fiscal subsidies, purchase tax exemption, vehicle registration benefits, right-of-way measures, and the dual credit system. These tools create the initial market. Concentration rose quickly because only a few firms could move fast enough to capture the policy window. But this kind of the concentration was fast but fragile. It rested on policy access, not the real capabilities. When the subsidies started retreating, the game changed. Battery architecture, electric platform, electronics, software, and advanced manufacturing began to form a single integrated system. The firms that could integrate these layers internally shortened the iteration cycles and lowered the marginal costs. Concentration didn't disappear, it transformed. A new capability-based concentration emerged in place of the old subsidy-based one. Now we are in the phase 3. Competition is no longer just about the selling a car. It's about a user operation, post-sale service, multi-brand strategy, different store models, and digital service channels. Purchase has become an ongoing relationship. The market share is now defended through what I call the dynamic stability. Leaders then stayed on the top not by sitting still, but by constantly reshaping their ecosystem. So, what actually moves market share? I identified the four mechanisms. Price competition triggers the short-term volatilities, especially in the 850 to 300,000 RMB segment, but it cannot sustain the leadership on its own. Technology system turn the share into a stable result of the system capability. They affect the cost, rhythm, and brand legitimacy over the medium to the long term. Supply chain decides whether the advantages elsewhere can actually be realized. Delivery resilience is what consolidates the share you've created, and the channel depth converts the interest into the purchase, especially in the lower tier cities and under-branded regions. These mechanisms play out very differently across the firms. Beyond your dreams compete through the system, integration across the full chain. Its strength is multi-brand and multi-segment resilience, but the trade-off is coordination complexity. Tesla takes the opposite path, focus the efficiency on a small set of the core models, strong brand and manufacturing scale, but narrow segment coverage. And the local and regional brands are embedded in the local policies and fleet markets, strong regional foothold, but weak national capabilities. Now, the hard numbers based on the annual market analysis from the China Passenger Car Association and the China Automobile Dealers Association. In 2021, CR5 was 56.6%, HHI was 0.142, and expansion phase. In 2022, CR5 rose to 60.3%, HHI to 0.165. Though I note here, the 2022 scope mixed the wholesale and the retail data, so we read this year with caution. In 2023, concentration peaked. CR5 hit the 65.8%, and HHI reached the 0.198. And then, in 2024, both pulled back. CR5 to 60.23% and HHI to 0.189. The data tells a story. From the 2021 to 2023, half firms turned the technology, scale, and organization into defensive modes. This was not policy-driven concentration, it was active competitive aggregation. But in 2024, mid-tier firms regained the share through the new products and targeted pricing. The market is concentrated, but it is open. It is not a sealed oligopoly. Looking forward, I do not give a single point of focus. I outline the four scenarios. The first one, the head-led consolidation. Leaders extend their platform, supply, and channel advantages. CR5 stays high. Mid-tier disruption. Challengers break through with the cost and product innovation, creating a temporary dispersion. Regional amplification. City-level subsidies and fleet chassis boost the local brands, producing the uneven geographic share. And last one is the technology jump. The faster charging, smart driving, and software triggers a potential reordering of the rankings. The future is structural, not linear. So, what does this mean in the practice? For firms, compete on systems, not promotions. Build a repeatable technology foundation across the platform, battery, and software. Extend the channels beyond the nominal outlets into trial drives, financing, service, and trading. And strengthen supply chain resilience for policymakers. Build a unified and fair national market. Dismantle the local protectionisms. Strengthen the standards compatibilities in charging, data, and safety. Make sure market share reflects the real capability, not the administrative division. There are three key takeaways. The first one, the drivers of the competition has shifted from the policy to the system capabilities. The second one, the share change is multi-mechanism, price triggers, and technology stabilizes. And the third, the market is concentrated but contestable, with real openings at the sub-segment level. I should also note the limitations. The study relies on the annual public data with a 2022 scope inconsistency. It does not perform the formal cultural identification. Future work should use the monthly and model level data for the proper mechanism testing. That's all from me. Thank you for your attention, and I welcome any questions.